Hello and welcome back. It's been an interesting few months. For a few weeks, I had to take some time off from making videos and get my health together. But nonetheless, we have returned. Now, we have returned to some interesting news in the world. For instance, Bitcoin just passed 29,000 a few minutes ago, and then we had a sudden dump. But this does show us that there are strong buyers in the market. We could end up over 29,000, and some people that I follow as far as macro investors are saying we could run up to 36k within the next few weeks. But I would stay tuned to what we see on the markets because there's some interesting world narratives being built on why Bitcoin is actually increasing in value. One of the narratives being built is that the banking crisis is a wake-up call to buy Bitcoin by Tim Draper. So I do have some new people watching the channel. Probably don't understand how Bitcoin fully works, but just to give some background, what kind of makes Bitcoin different from a bank account is that you have the ability to store your Bitcoin in a decentralized wallet, which is essentially like a program that allows you to access your Bitcoin. And that program that exists allows you to store your cryptos without any other financial institution being able to use it for leverage or use it for other investments. So what puts your banking accounts at risk is the fact that banks take your money and they do other things with it. So that when you need your money, they have to figure out how they're going to sell those assets and the other things that they're doing, other shady activities, in order to get you your money, which puts you in a bad situation when there's something like a bank run, which is kind of what was happening with SVB. So Tim Draper says the banking crisis of early 2003 has been the largest financial meltdown of 2008. Tim Draper, known for well-placed investments in Coinbase and other companies, thinks that SVB's failure was a wake-up call for the people who are reluctant to buy Bitcoin. So as we know, we have millionaires, we have billionaires, we have sorts of people out there. Now, if you don't want to be at the mercy of the current administration and their policies, you do want to have some cryptocurrency. You do want to have some Bitcoin in decentralized wallets stored away for those emergency situations where, let's say, bank accounts completely collapse and there's no more funds. Or maybe the US dollar might become less of the global reserve. Hint, hint. So if those sort of things happen, cryptocurrency will most likely be increasing in value, which means your wealth will be increasing in value instead of losing value. Now, can that actually happen? Yes, it can. And in fact, there are those who believe it will happen in about 90 days from now. Now, according to Joe Biden, the banking crisis isn't over. It probably is just getting started. Now, Kathy Wood from ARK Invest says that the Biden administration is probably making a big mistake. ARK Invest Kathy Wood says the Biden administration abrupt escalation against the crypto industry will have consequences at the ballot box. Now, I know this is true. I spend a lot of time with those who have young 21-year-olds and college kids. And let me tell you, these kids are into NFTs. They're into NFTs, they're into NFT gaming, they're into blockchain, as well as millennials. And as we bring in more artistic people into the crypto space, and we all know that artistic people tend to be leftists, they will understand fully and more how governments actually react to the investing world and the mistakes they make that cause the markets to collapse. So this is an opportunity for financial education within the artistic sector. We haven't had something like that happen in a very long time. So, yeah, this article basically states that, the SEC and their crackdown on exchanges, crackdown on the uses of crypto, and the ridiculous Wells notices that they issued to Coinbase could have consequences negatively impact the Democrats in the voting ballots. Now, here's our number one fan here, Gary Gensler. You're going to see a lot of articles pumping about this, who says the existing rules regulate crypto and legislation is unnecessary. This guy is a total moron. This is not true. If you didn't already know, the SEC has to kind of regulate each and every cryptocurrency one by one to determine if it's a security or not, which puts them at a very what puts us and them at a disadvantage because they don't have the time, the resources to actually do this. So a lot of cryptocurrencies that already exist have trouble figuring out, what the U.S. government wants to label them. So in the meantime, what are they supposed to do? Nothing, just don't exist? No, it doesn't work that way. They're going to continue to do business until the governments decide that they want to label them correctly, and that way they know how to make moves, whether or not they pay securities, uh, you know, um, fines, or whether or not they don't have to. It's everything is blind, and they don't know. So this is a huge problem in the crypto space, and we need accurate legislation. But the problem I see is that the technology kind of advances too fast, and governments can't keep up, unfortunately. So hopefully this advancement comes to a slower pace at some point, and governments can start making correct decisions on how to regulate the market. Now back to Bitcoin. As we know, the banking system is failing. There is a narrative being built that you should keep your money off the banking system and move it into places where the government can't confiscate your funds, or banks can't use it for other things other than storing your money, which is the idea of what a bank was supposed to be used for in the first place. But that's not the case. But many have this conspiracy. I say it's a conspiracy because it could possibly just be a conspiracy, but to be honest with you, it seems to be, looking like the truth. That the current administration is creating this environment where the banking system would fail and they would pump crypto, but then create their own crypto exchanges, which means Wall Street and other companies like BlackRock. And once they get rid of the exchanges that exist currently, like Coinbase and Binance, will be forced to store crypto in institutional exchanges, American institutional exchanges, and then the American government will introduce the CBDC. And the CBDC is supposedly supposed to be built around the narrative that they need to control banks, they need to control money, and control the activity of what's going on with the banking system, because they're doing shady things and collapsing markets. I mean, they're going to probably take the blame for what's occurring instead of the U.S. government, which is increasing these interest rates astronomically. So the narrative is being built around this idea of them introducing a CBDC to save the world. And that CBDC is going to be good for us because it'll protect us from the banks. And if you're smart, you understand you can't really trust government. You can't really trust the things they say. Time and time again throughout history, they've proved this to be correct. So, as we know, the CBDC will almost enslave us because all banks will be connected at that point. They wouldn't be separate entities. They'll be connected, which means the system will be controlled by the U.S. government with a connected system of all banks. So if the U.S. government says, hey, we don't like this person, we don't want him to use his funds, they can do that because it will be programmable money, unlike the current computer systems that exist where each bank is completely separate from each other. Right? So the U.S. government will literally be able to stop your account, freeze your account, reverse your account if they don't like what you say, if they don't like what you do, if they don't like how you think. This is manipulation and control on a whole nother level Americans have not seen yet. So, They have trouble taking away the things they don't like you to have. They have trouble getting you to take the shots that they want you to take. But once they create the CBDC, it is over, game over. A lot of us will cave to the idea of what they believe is politically correct. It is going to be a difficult time if this happens. But either way, we have Bitcoin, which is our savior, and that's what it was created for. So please try to understand this. Try to understand what's happening in the world, what's happening in the markets, and get yourself some Bitcoin and store it away just for emergencies. Other than that, take care, everyone. I will include these articles in the video, and be safe.